Hey everybody, what's up? It's Joel, aka The Daily Guru, and it's time for another edition of Something Old, Something New. Today for Something Old, we're going all the way back to 1971. We're going to talk about James Brown and his absolutely mind-blowing album, Revolution of the Mind, live at the Apollo, Volume 3. Now, everybody loves James Brown. There's no question there. And while his studio work is absolutely fantastic, it's when you experience the man live that you understand why he's the legend that he remains to this day. Taking that into account, there's no question that Revolution of the Mind represents James Brown and his band at their absolute best. Live music rarely gets better than this. Almost every single song he and his band play, everybody in the crowd knows by heart. And that crowd seems to be nothing but young females, and they go crazy at every single tune. While there's no question that James Brown is fantastic, it's almost always the music he's singing over that steals the show. This is the JBs at the top of their game, and they are one of the most deadly bands in music history. By this point, the JBs were under the direction of Fred Wesley, and the rest of the band is nothing short of a who's who of the greatest soul and funk players of all time. While the entire band plays exceptionally throughout all of Revolution of the Mind, it's often guitarists Cheese Martin and Bobby Bird that steal the show. There's not a note out of place, and the power and force that they hit with has never been matched. But there's no question that James Brown himself is also at the top of his game. He's in peak form, he's in peak condition, and his voice has rarely sounded better. It's the combination of soaring pitch and gritty tone that makes James Brown the legend that he is, and when he's live, he's at his best. You only have to listen to this album for a couple of moments to completely understand why they call James Brown the hardest working man in show business. As at every single turn on this album, there's an unrelenting drive and amazing intensity, and it's why he is the man. So in the end, there's no question. James Brown is one of the greatest performers in all of music history, and the JBs are one of the most devastating bands in history, and this album stands as a document to how great a group they were. So do yourself a favor. Go out right now and buy yourself a copy of James Brown's amazing record, Revolution of the Mind, live at the Apollo, Volume 3. Thank me later. Today for something new, we're going to check out one of my favorite albums that I've picked up in the last few weeks. It's Hanni El Khatib and his album, Will the Guns Come Out? Now, I'll admit it, I had no clue who this guy was, but he came so highly recommended, I absolutely had to check out this record. And when it comes down to it, I'm a fan of pure soulful rock and roll, and Will the Guns Come Out has it in almost overwhelming proportions. The distorted guitars and the almost reckless energy that he brings on every single song is a quick reminder as to what it takes to make great rock and roll music. There's this spirited, organic feel to every single track on the album, and while it absolutely takes a really large part of influence from the garage rock that Jack White has been perfecting for about a decade now, there's no question that this album absolutely stands on its own. Almost every single song on this record has a really great swing or a stomp, and it completely draws you into them, and yet at the same time, there's almost this rockabilly sound that completely separates him from anybody else making music right now. In fact, Will the Guns Come Out shows his entire range of talent, as the opening couple tracks are really hard-driving rock and roll songs, and then it goes into a more mellow, relaxed tone for most of the second half of the record. The fact that he's able to play with such power and style all across this album gives it an even more unique and focused sound, and this is one of the most cohesive records I've heard in months. Taking all this to account, you can also toss his fantastic singing voice on top of it, as it matches every single tone that he goes for perfectly. Whether he's being an all-out hard rock star or he's getting more reflective and mellow, he understands where his pitch needs to be, and every single song is great. So whether it's the invigorating, almost explosive rock and roll mastery, or the superb songwriting that runs throughout this entire record, there's no question that on the buy it or borrow it, Hanni El Khatib's Will the Guns Come Out is a 100% buy it. So that's what I got for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead and click subscribe, go ahead and click like, go ahead and leave a comment, whatever you want, that's up to you. If you want to email me, you can do that at thedailyguru@gmail.com, and read my blog every single day where I write about the greatest songs ever written at thedailyguru.net, and you can also follow me on Twitter or like me on Facebook, and we'll see you guys again on Thursday.